Hello, everyone. I am Josh Nepsa, Senior Account Executive with ProTech Security. I would like to welcome you all and thank you all for attending our first quarterly Tech Talk. We're excited today to spotlight Lynx Systems. It is a dynamic and versatile mass notification software that is ideal for K through 12 schools, higher education, government agencies, and businesses of all sizes. In this session, we'll be featuring a live demo and answering some pre-submitted questions we've received. If you have any additional questions or need further clarification, throw it in the chat, and if time allows, we'll get to it at the end. Now, we're going to jump right in and explore what Lynx has to offer. I'd like to introduce Tim Lee, Vice President of Sales for Mitzi. Tim, I'll let you take the reins.
Ideal. Well, again, a very good afternoon to you all. My name is Tim Lee with Microtechnology Services in Richardson, Texas. And today, as Josh mentioned, we'll be going over the functionalities of the Lynx system. Just a bit of background on Lynx systems. We've been around since 2004. And as I mentioned, we're based in Richardson, Texas, where we both develop the software, manufacture the hardware that can also be implemented as part of a solution. And that's also where our tech support is based. So it's really nice in that way, where not only is it made in America, but also excellent tech support out of Richardson, Texas, both in the initial deployment, but also ongoing. And as Josh mentioned, really Lynx is used across every environment, whether it's in corporate settings, big manufacturing distribution centers, as well as in both K through 12 higher education, healthcare, and then in city, county government. So there's really no environment that Lynx isn't being leveraged in. I think the most important factor, as you'll see today, is that different aspects of the system may be more beneficial in some environments, and in other environments, there may be other focuses and needs that you have that the system can address. As we can all imagine, unfortunately, workplace violence has always been a concern and certainly has been elevated for a number of different reasons in the last couple of years. And that's where we're finding right now a large push for Lynx, not only from the standpoint of notifying when a situation has gone past a certain point, but also in many cases where I might need assistance or I may need another face out front in a lobby simply because I feel uncomfortable or I feel that this situation might escalate. So that ability to not only notify when a situation's already gone beyond a certain point, but also be able to get help and possibly de-escalate a situation before it goes too far. So as we look at the Lynx system, what's so powerful about it is that a lot of things can actually be done leveraging technologies you already have in place and already use. So imagine the simplicity of turning any of your Windows computers into a silent panic button simply by loading software on those computers, which now enables, even if that computer is logged off or locked, the staff member to discreetly activate that key combination and alert other members in that building or within your organization that assistance is needed. Take that a step further, the ability to add physical buttons plugged directly into the USB port of that Windows computer. Or possibly in some areas we don't have a computer and we simply want to add a physical panic button that plugs directly into the network. So it doesn't require any other infrastructure other than a button with an indicator light that it's operational, an 8-foot cable, and this appliance that connects directly to the network. So imagine how easy that is to implement anywhere throughout your organization. Or it might be that we need to add wireless buttons in some areas simply because of the layout of a conference room or in other environments where staff members might need it on their person working in an area that they need easy access to the button, but maybe they're not moving around the whole building. They're working in an area, they just need to get help to that location where they are assigned. And then lastly, the ability to tie into existing alarm points that you may already have in place. As you'll see in a moment, as you can see on the right-hand side of this diagram, the Lynx system can communicate to radios. It can override computer screens, go out over your existing PA system, or you can add speakers, or possibly add visual lights or strobes, or LED signs, or override HDMI monitors, or even notify the police. And so the nice thing here is if we've already leveraged panic buttons in some areas of your organization, those can be easily incorporated into the system, whether it's a very small input box or a very large panel that can not only enable the communication of those alarms, but also enable supervision and testing of those alarms. So again, there's a full array of software capability and hardware capability, both on the input and on the output side. And then lastly, the ability to access alerts on your phones, whether that's as a text message, a phone call, or using our app and receiving push notification. And that app can also be leveraged, as I'll show you in a moment, to initiate alerts. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility depending on the technologies you have and the needs you have to deploy a system that could be a very, very small solution just to address a need in a lobby or an entry point, or over time expanded to cover many areas that you may have a need for a duress or communication to your staff. So as we look at the first aspect of the system, the keyboard panic button, we have over 500,000 of these deployed throughout the United States. In the veterans hospitals alone, the VA medical centers, they have about 350,000 panic buttons leveraging software on their existing computers. So without having to install any hardware, any computer can become that silent panic alarm that optionally can go out over your existing radios if you use handheld Motorola, Kenwood, or other brand of radios, or simply go to other computers or mobile phones. When I activate this alarm in a moment, nothing would appear on my screen other than a discrete green banner in the bottom right-hand corner indicating the alarm was sent. So there's that green banner indicating the alarm was sent.
Panic alarm activated. Center for Campus Wellness, room 207.
So again, with nothing more than software loaded on that computer, we can initiate the alert from the computer when logged off or locked. We can receive notification, even embedding camera feeds or other information that needs to be provided to those who are being notified so that they know what they're going into. That notification went out as a push notification to the phones, as well as in that case, using text to speech to your existing radios. Now, another feature that's so powerful about the keyboard panic button is you can have more than one key combination. So in certain circumstances, I might need some type of public safety or security response, but in other cases where maybe I've got student health services or an environment where I need assistance, I could leverage a second key combination that could notify everybody in that department other than the person who activated it. So I hit the discrete key combination this time, and now it's sending that assistance needed to all the other employees in my department, but not notifying a police or public safety response. So a very, very easy way of deploying these alarms and being able to target the outputs to those personnel that need to be notified. You could even use that USB button as a more elevated notification for a lockdown or other type of emergency. So very, very easy to design the system based upon those that need assistance, those that need security response, and potentially those that need to be able to activate an alarm that both notifies security to respond and warns others in the department or building to take some other action. The last part that's so important to be aware of within the software, and a critical feature, is not only supervision, that we know everything is online and operational, but also the ability to physically test these alarms on a schedule you set. So possibly the first 8 days of every month, we want to send that prompt out to all the computers that have the keyboard or USB buttons on them prompting the staff members to physically test their alarms. So this window would pop up on their computer with your logos so that they know it's not some type of malware. When they click Test Now, now their computer is in a test mode, but only their computer. All the others are in their current state. It's reminding them the key combination to press. In this case, it's F9, F11. When they press the F9, F11, it's logging in the system when it was tested, who it was tested by, and that it was successful. Same with that USB button. If they've got that USB button, they're being prompted to physically test their button, not only logging it, but reminding them that they have it, how to use it, and the confidence that it's working correctly. So it becomes a very good training tool for staff, as well as a huge time saver each month for going around and testing the alarms, or worse, not testing your alarms, and then when someone goes to use it, nothing happening. And are you in the Center for Campus Wellness, room 207? Yes, that location is correct. So a very, very quick test for the employee, but a huge time saving and a huge confidence and benefit that the employee is aware that they have it, how to use it, and that it's working correctly. And let's face it, in this day and age, when we're adding panic buttons for an organization, not everyone necessarily needs a panic button, but it becomes very reassuring for them that they have it and they know how to use it. Now, going beyond the keyboard alarm or the USB, as I mentioned, we have buttons that plug straight into the network. They are very discreet, or they can be buttons that connect to the network that are very visible and defined for a very specific purpose. So whether I need to lock down my building, lock down my school and alert the appropriate authorities, as well as those within the school and the district, or I simply need some form of assistance, these buttons plug straight in the network, or we have wireless buttons as well that again are fully supervised and easy to test. So let's take that scenario of a lockdown. I've got my button deployed out in that specific location where I need to have access to it in a secure location. Whether it's hardwired or PoE, we know where it is. The button has been pushed. The alert has now gone out to the system based upon that.
The lockdown button has been pressed at the building 100 administration lobby. Follow lockdown procedures and wait for further instructions.
So that alert went out to all the computer screens. And what's important here is even if that computer is logged off or locked, they're receiving that notification with the color-coded background. Or possibly we want the alarm messages scrolling in a dispatch, telling them exactly where the alarm has been activated. So again, we can scroll messages across the top, middle, or bottom of the screen. We can take over the whole screen or the corner of the screen with the specific information that they need to receive. So there we've taken it from the duress element where I need assistance from security, public safety, or others, to now one that we could notify hundreds or literally thousands of personnel via their computer, via HDMI monitors, via speakers that might already be in place, like a PA system, or added speakers over the radios. Wherever we need to send those alerts, we can pre-configure in advance what is being communicated, leveraging text to speech to the speakers, to the radios, phone numbers or IP phone systems, while visually displaying the appropriate messaging to those monitors, LED signs, and the appropriate color coding on the strobes. Now let's take another scenario. Let's say we have severe weather or some other type of an emergency. The nice part is key personnel from their computer can have these icons configured in advance. And in this particular case, we've got a confirmed tornado warning. It's going to go to a pending stage first to confirm they mean to send out that alert, but we've defined in advance everything we want to go out. When they press send, now from those icons.
Tornado warning. A tornado warning has been issued for Stark County. Go to the safe area tornado shelter.
So there, without having to add any physical buttons, we can initiate different types of alerts, different types of a message from any computer you want to give access to, or any mobile phone you want to give access to. And what's very important here is often it's not just about sending out the alert, but it's also about updating staff or people in that building what's going on. So if I need to send the all clear from my mobile phone, I can send out updates, or in this case, the all clear. The storm has passed. It's okay to go back to your room. So I've added information that time that is now going to be embedded in the alerts, both visually and audibly.
All clear. Storm has passed. It's okay to go back to your room.
So the power here is with any alarm, whether it's from a computer or from a phone, you can add additional information that becomes part of that visual and or audible communication based upon what you want to occur when we need to get information out. But the power there is I don't have to predefine every alarm either by a physical button or a predefined icon. We can add additional information as and when we need to provide additional details in a message. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Thanks, Tim. So a couple of the questions that we got ahead of time, start with the first one here. How can a client deploy the system for offsite meetings or regularly scheduled events, such as for a Board of Elections workers at a remote election location?
Great question. So there's really 2 or 3 different ways that could be done. If we want to provide physical buttons, the wireless solution is very powerful because we simply need to plug the wireless receiver into the network. And even if this is going to be in a library or school building that's not on the county's network, if we're plugging it into a network connection in that building and we're using our cloud-based solution, then it can be in any building that's got reliable internet connectivity. Or we could use the PoE panic button where it's just, if we just need one button plugged in the network. Or lastly, we could use a panic button on the app that could be provided to those personnel that are working at that location.
Thank you. The next one is, can you explain how the Lynx system uses preset phrases or words to notify certain parties of them via a device like Halo?
Yes, and that's a really exciting part of what we've recently added is the integration with Halo. So Halo Sense is a very interesting product because it can detect a lot of things, not only detect chemicals such as vaping and other types of things that might be an issue that needs to be communicated to the appropriate personnel, but it can also use code words. So for instance, I could have a code word such as emergency 911, something that's very defined and isn't going to get mixed up by somebody just saying emergency or 911. So emergency 911 can trigger an alert by somebody saying it, which in turn would send an alert through the Lynx system to computers, mobile phones, radios, or whatever devices needed to be notified.
Then the next one is, what are the differences between cloud-based and on-premises deployment?
Great question. So there's a couple of different aspects to that. For some organizations, there's a requirement that it be on-prem and reside inside the organization's network. For instance, the veterans hospitals, they're all required to be on-prem. The cloud-based gives us a few advantages, both on cost, because it's a subscription fee. So the upfront cost to it are very, very low, and also very inclusive of all the different functionality of the software and the app. The other benefit is you're not having to spin up a server, which obviously for some organizations, that's quite a large hidden cost. And nowadays, a lot of organizations are trying to move away from more and more virtual, or certainly physical servers. Lastly, the cloud-based solution, we offer some very, very small options for cloud-based solutions that are a very, very attractive entry point to Lynx when we might only need to put in 2 or 3 or 5 panic alarms in an organization.
And to kind of piggyback right on that, with the deployment options, what is an IT person looking at in terms of deployment to the PCs?
Well, yeah, so 2 parts. Obviously, if we're going with the cloud-based solution, that's cutting out having to put our software on a virtual server. So that cuts out a lot right there from a an IT standpoint. From the distribution of the software once the server's been built, whether it's on-prem or cloud, they're able to very easily use their distribution tools to push the software out to the computer. So there's no need to ever physically touch a computer when it comes to setting up the software, nor do they have to do anything when it comes to software updates. That can all be pushed out remotely. And our tech support is going to be heavily engaged with both training and support on an ongoing basis on the software side. And obviously we partner with ProTech when it comes to the configuration of the alarm messages and any hardware.
One that I've gotten quite often is what is the benefit to Rapid SOS to my clients?
Absolutely. And Rapid SOS, for those that aren't familiar, basically integrates with PSAP. And so the nice part about the Rapid SOS for education is specific alarms, i.e. something such as that lockdown button in a school, or a very defined panic button, or even an icon on a phone for the principal, could go directly to 911. And now you're going to get an immediate response from local 911 without that having to be a confirmation. Other alarms could be configured to go to Rapid SOS, but those could be set for a confirmation simply because we're concerned that somebody might accidentally activate it when we don't want SWAT showing up. For non-education, we have the requirement from Rapid SOS that a confirmation has to occur first via a phone call. So if somebody activated that USB button in your lobby, for instance, they would be trained, or somebody in that building will be trained, that when the phone call comes in from Rapid SOS to confirm that the police are needed, they have three choices. They can ignore the phone call, they can reply with more information, or if it was an accident, they can let the Rapid SOS know that law enforcement is not needed. That way we reduce the risk of law enforcement showing up in an environment where it wasn't needed. And obviously the last thing we want is that on the local news this evening.
Then the last one I have is it possible to customize the notification so that my security team gets the respond now, but everybody else gets shelter in place?
Great question. And that really follows on in a couple of ways. For those that need to see what's going on and respond to a situation, they can get that message, possibly even including live video feeds, whereas everybody else needs to be told what to do. And in a similar case, if you've got multiple buildings on a campus, we might need to tell one building to evacuate the building, but we want to tell all the other buildings nearby to shelter in place. And so that's the important part here, is whether it's a physical button being pushed or it's a software-based activation, we can designate in advance what messages go to which outputs, as well as what the message is.
And actually, Tim, I almost forgot about one last question that we had gotten. To go a little further with the segregation of alarms, can I segregate the lockdown that I initiate across the access control system? I.e., I've got 3 buildings on a campus and I only need to lock this one down.
That's a great point. And also the nice part is that's where our relay output boxes come into play. So these are physical boxes that we manufacture that can be both an input on one side if we want to use it for an input, and then we also have the output version that could be set to initiate that lockdown for that specific building. So even though I'm activating it from my mobile phone or from an icon on a computer, we can then send that soft input to a hard output to control access to that building, or for any number of other functionalities that might have to occur based upon that specific emergency to that one building, or potentially to all buildings.
Very good. I will wait or ask everybody, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat now. Otherwise, we are probably going to go ahead and finish up. I do want to thank you guys all for attending. This will be up on our YouTube page, and we will be doing different tech talks quarterly with different manufacturers and vendors and technology updates in the security industry in general. So I don't see anybody typing, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Again, thank you guys all for coming. Tim, thank you so much for the presentation, and I look forward to hearing from all of you.
Thank you all again.
Thanks. Bye.